What's up, everybody? It's DisThunder, and today we're going to take a look at the Mezco 112 Collective Conan from the 1982 classic Conan the Barbarian. This is the first of two movie Conans it looks like we are getting, this one being the war paint version when he goes to save King Osric's daughter. I would say it's probably the second most iconic look from that movie. I think the one that we're getting next, the Pit Fighter one, is the one that everybody thinks of probably first, but this would be probably right after it. From a figure standpoint, this is pretty fun because this is an entirely new body. I think we were all trying to guess the parts going into this, thinking it may have been Doc Savage, may have been, well, we still don't know about the Sin City Marv. I guess we'll find out there. But he shares no parts with previous figures, which was kind of a surprise. And there's some new innovations going on here too, so that's also cool. It's also just cool as hell to get an actual Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan, because I think it hasn't been since NECA that somebody's actually done a licensed movie Conan figure. We're certainly not starving for Conan based on Frazetta or based on the comic books by any means right now. This is it's a great time to be a Conan fan. But to finally get an articulated version of the Schwarzenegger Conan is, well, it's long overdue, but it's damn cool. To start off with, as I've been talking, you've been seeing some pictures, and in those pictures you might have noticed there are three different head sculpts. There is the one that's on screen right now where he's looking straight ahead with some natural hair that's just kind of laying down. There is also a similarly stern face with his eyes looking slightly to the side that'll work with the other head or hairpiece as well. And lastly, there is a yelling head sculpt, which pairs obviously best with the action hair sculpt. For the rest of the accessories, we have a belt to hold his Atlantean sword and sheath. There is a dagger. There's an amulet on a little leather strap. A doom guard that has been relieved of his head. And two snakes. One in kind of a natural curly pose and one as the snake arrow from, well, this scene with the snake arrow. Getting into articulation, we can start with the head because that's the place that makes most sense. It is a double jointed barbell style neck with one barbell at the top and the other one goes down to the collarbone, like we've seen many times at this point. You will notice there are not butterfly joints in the shoulders, but the shoulder still gets a pretty good range of motion. However, butterflies would have been very helpful here, or if this had been made of a slightly softer material, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. Double jointed elbows are good, wrists are good, bicep swivel's fine. The thoracic joint is not bad, decent amount of crunch forward, mostly using both joints. Ball jointed hips, although we'll talk about that some more in a sec. They have pretty good range out and back, double jointed knee, and there are ankles. I think they're just a little jammed up still, but they feel like they work okay. Just need some rehabbing. But as you can see, pretty good range of motion there. And there's a reason we're going to talk about that some more. However, want to point out, you can get him into a dual sword holding pose. It's not perfect, but it doesn't look too bad. Here's where things get interesting. Here is an extra body I picked up that has obviously nothing on it, and you can see that he has new style recessed hip joints as opposed to the traditional ball joints we've got on pretty much every other Mezco since Dark Knight Returns Batman. This is a Sovereign Knight, I think, but I wanted to bring it out to show you that when you're twisting it, yeah, the thigh cut does allow you to get past a certain range, which you've kind of maxed out that ball joint's range, but a lot of that flexing in and out is really done with the ball joint itself, not with the thigh cut like you might have expected. So, and this has worked great, honestly. This is really not a bad design at all. It's worked since Marvel Legends. But the big thing is doing this recessed joint with a flexible crotch piece like the Atom Body. Well, unlike the Atom Body, this one can actually sit in a pretty clean pose with his legs relatively close together, which is something the Atom Body can't do. And even the classic Mezcos do splay a little bit. It's not terrible, but you can see just how much better that is. Granted, we're talking about Conan today, and that's not a big deal for Conan because he doesn't ride a lot of vehicles, but this has some good opportunity for stuff in the future. You can see here it's flexible. It's got a little squishy ass, and there's a flexibility on that part with the waist joint too, but it maybe needs to cut down just a teeny bit. It feels like it's hindering slightly. My only real complaint here is this is awesome if only they'd use it on the chest. Then we wouldn't need butterfly joints anymore. Could be a game changer. For comparison's sake, here he is with a complete Atom body, that same Sovereign Knight body, and I think that's a blade on the end. And you can see how similar those hip joints are to the Atom body. Exactly same fundamentals. I'd be lying if I didn't say that I wish this Conan body was just a little bit bigger. Not nearly as big as that Atom body, because that would be ridiculous, but I just wish he had a little bit more mass on him. Even though I'm sure he's probably correct for scale, I just need to point that out. Here he is with the 112 King Conan, who is about the same height as, and I'll show you some other barbarians that don't have a bunch of clothes on, so it's not quite so hidden. But he is broader than the Comic Conan, just maybe not by as much as, well, at least as not as much as I was expecting, we'll put it that way. Here he is with Death Dealer, who I think scales with him very well. I don't think there's anything wrong there at all. Makes you a little sad we didn't get a Death Dealer in the classic Conan movies. Here he is with the two previous Conans, just wearing some barbarian accessory kit parts. And if you look at the one on the left by comparison, he is still broader than the classic Conan. The difference is that this Conan can actually put his arms flush down to his sides, whereas the earlier Conan, especially with a harness on, has some difficulty doing that. He is, it's close, but the chest is puffier and broader, and so are the arms. As I'm sure I will probably get complaints about in the comments section, if I get comments. I mean, let's be real here, YouTube's almost as dead as Instagram these days. I don't have any Mythic Legions figures, but I do have a few of the Savage Crucible figures. So here is one of the reptiles, and then here is their Conan version, which actually is a figure I'm very fond of. This is probably my favorite Conan just to kind of mess around with. Obviously, the Crucible figures are a bit taller and a bit bigger just in general, closer to a 7-inch scale. But I think this kind of puts this Conan in perspective. He stacks up. He's smaller because he's not the same scale as that lion, but he kind of looks like he can hold his own against the reptiles. Here he is with Supreme Knight Batman, who stacks up pretty comparably to Conan. Nice reminder that these figures all do scale and go in the same line together, even though we've got now, 5 years between these two figures? Here he is with Doc Savage, who is bigger, but some of that is the riding boots and some of that is the sculpt, because they are completely new sculpts, separate from each other. I think the big difference is Conan is more appropriately, it feels, I'm going to say puffier again, even though that's not really the right word for it, but that's more of Arnold's physique, whereas Doc Savage has a bit more of a chiseled comic booky physique. Okay, before we go on to recommendations, where I'm going to recommend the figure, because I'm going to recommend the figure, I know I'm such a mark, but I want to do a little bit of pro and con instead, because I think that's a little bit more beneficial. On the pro side, you may not think it by looking at the pictures, and that may be partially my fault, but the likeness on this figure is really good. This isn't just a caricature of Arnold Schwarzenegger. This looks like Arnold, and it's doing so without the benefit of things like eyebrows and a normal skin tone. It's being done with war paint covering half of his face and most of his eyes. And yet you can take any one of those three head sculpts in any setting and instantly recognize him. So the sculpt is extremely strong, and it looks just like it did in the movie. And that kind of carries for the paint overall in general, because the war paint, I think, makes you kind of overlook the details because it's very stark, right? But he has kind of a pallid flesh tone in this part of the movie, and it does come across this way. But there is some nice pigment work here and there in the flesh tone that you can see. It, like I said, it's very understated, and you miss it when you look at it first, but as you look close to the figure, you pick up on it, and it's very well done. And I think that also goes for the cloth goods, because he's only wearing a pair of pants and some loincloth. But like the buckskin material on the pants is really well done. It's very flexible, doesn't hinder articulation, and it looks correct. It looks movie accurate. And, that's important, especially at this scale where we've been dealing with people bitching about looking like pajamas since this line began. These ain't pajamas, man. This looks like it's supposed to look. And I would say, lastly, the articulation, particularly from the waist down, is an improvement. You think about it, really, you don't use a thigh cut more than about 30% anyway for most posing. Beyond that, it starts looking unnatural. And the recessed joint can do that same range of motion. You add in the flexible hip piece, the crotch piece, and again, maybe not massive for Conan, but I think it will be a really good thing for figures going forward. Leading us into the cons, that means I got to talk about the articulation from the waist up. Man, we were that damn close. If the chest piece had been made of that same flexible material, you would have had a Conan that could bring his hands together in front of his face. We were that close. That, in lieu of that, if they had done the butterfly joints, that would have been okay, but they really should have gone for a flexible chest piece. I don't know if that's something they can do for Pit Fighter, but if you do, man, that'll put that figure beyond everybody else. His accessory count's a little light. I know it's correct to the scene, but I kind of, at the price point we're at, I kind of wish, even if it's not scene accurate, a few more accessories would have felt like a little more bang for my buck. So I can't complain too much there, but it would have been nice. And lastly, not really a con, but I don't know that war paint would have been the first one I went with. Although I did do a little looking, and the NECA Real Toys figure is out there on eBay for about $300. So clearly there's a demand out there for war paint Conan. So can't really call that one a con. I'll call that one a draw. And needless to say, if you need a war paint Conan, this one is going to outclass that pre-post statue. Nice as that one was, this is way, way better. So with that being said, this is a figure I'm going to recommend. And I don't know if we'll get a lot of characters to go with him. He may just be a standalone Conan with another standalone Conan. But if that's all he does, he's still really good. And he'll still look great next to, well, he even kind of plays well with the other barbarians that we have. So that ain't bad either. So with that, I would like to say thank you to Mezco Toys for helping me get one of these to review. And thank you to you guys for watching the review. Hopefully I will see you again sooner than the 2 months it was between this and my last review. But until then, take care, and we'll talk again soon.